Now, still in equation, we've discussed a linear equation that does not have more than a variable. Now, when we say simultaneous equation, it means we are looking for two different variables at the same time. We are looking for them simultaneously. We are looking for them at the same time. So, for example, if you have 3x plus 4y equals 7, and you have x plus y equals 2. It means you are looking for x while you are also looking for y. So when you are doing these two together, it means what you are trying to do is what? Simultaneous equation. Now, when you're doing simultaneous equation, remember, when you're solving mathematics, the first thing you need to know is to identify where your question is coming from. So when you see something like this, you should automatically know this is simultaneous equation, right? And now to solve simultaneous equation, there are basically two methods to use. You can use substitution method or factorization method, which we are going to treat right now, right? So there are other methods you can use in solving simultaneous equation, such as using the graph or using matrix method. Those are in the advanced classes. But what we are going to do in our own classes, we are going to look at both the substitution method and the factorization method and how we can get this value of x and y. Now we have our example in this book, and we have some set of rules that we are written down in this book on solving simultaneous equations based on any method you want to use. Remember, self-taught basic mathematics, we have it on the platform for you. You can read it, it's free. And if you have the book, you have access to it, you can check the video for you to understand it better, or visit our website www.mathacademy.com.ng in case you are watching us from YouTube, TikTok, or any of the social media platforms. So we are going to dive into substitution method in the next class. Okay, so we have this question given to us using substitution method. I'll be reading the rules of substitution method from this book. I won't be writing it on the board. So if you have access to this book, you can check it on our platform, like I said earlier. And if you have the hard copy, you're good to go. So there are some set of rules, about 4 rules that you're going to follow in solving substitution method. Once you know this rule offhand, you have no problem in solving the substitution method. Now, rule number 1 says, separate the two equations into equation 1 and 2. The first rule separates the equation into equation 1 and 2. Remember, I told you simultaneous equation, you must have 2 equations. Why? Because we are finding 2 variables at the same time. Now, separate them into equation 1. So you can say equation 1. I can say this one is equation 2, depending on how you want it. We are done with the first rule. Now, the second rule says, make one of the variables in equation 1 the subject of the formula, maybe x or y, as you may wish. So say x and make it equation 3. Now, what they ask us to do here is to make equation 1, this first equation, make the x or y the subject of the formula. So here we are going to be making our x the subject of the formula, and whatever we arrive at will be our equation 3. We've done subject of the formula before now, so this should not be a problem to you. Now, let's take equation 1 and make the x subject of the formula. Now, if we are making x subject of the formula here, what we need to do is to make our x stand alone. So we take this to the next side by saying 3x plus 4y equals 7, right? So we say 3x equals 7. This is positive here. By the time it gets here, it becomes negative, right? Minus 4y. Now divide both sides by 3, which is the coefficient of x, right? Right? So we say 3 cancels 3, so x equals 7 minus 4y, all divided by 3. So we make x subject of the formula here. And what did they say? They said, make one of the variables in equation 1 the subject of the formula, maybe x or y as you may wish. So we decide to use x here. So say we are using x as we did, then make it equation 3. So this becomes our what? Equation 3. The second rule is correct. Now the third rule says, substitute the equation 3, this equation 3 now, in equation 2, put it in equation 2, and solve to get variable y. Now what do they mean by substitute? It means x is equal to all of these, right? So it means wherever we find x in equation 2, we are going to replace it with this value, right? So that we can get the value of y. That's the idea. Now let me clean off this. I'm going to clean this because of the space of my board to have my equation 3 just right here. You understand how we arrive at this, right? So I'll say x equals 7 minus 4y all divided by 3 as my equation 3. So let me clean this as well. Now, what I'm doing next is substituting this equation in equation 2, right? Substitute equation 3, right, in equation 2. So now we are replacing this x with this value, right? So we say 7 minus 4, make it clean now. 7 minus 4y divided by 3 plus y, right? Plus y equals 2. Now, we've done fraction before, right? This is a fraction. This can also be a fraction if you say divided by 1. You know how to solve fraction, right? You multiply all of this by this. You multiply this by this. Then you divide and multiply this by this. Now, all of this multiplied by 1 is still the same thing. Say 7 minus 4y. So you can put it in brackets for it to be easier. Plus 3 times y is what? 3y, right? All divided by 3 times 1 is what? 3 equals 2. What do you do when you have such a situation? You cross multiply, right? Now when you cross multiply, so you have 7 minus 4y plus 3y, right, equals 2 times 3, 6. So what do? You rearrange, like, right? You collect like terms. So we say collect like terms. You can see the reason why we did equation in the first place, why we did solve the formula in the second place, why we did collecting like terms, because we want all of these things to be easier for you, right? So once you're collecting like things, what happens? 7 goes here, right? So we have minus 4y plus 3y equals 6. This 7 comes here and becomes minus as well, right? Minus 7. It's not beginning enough. So now this is the same data type. We can stop there because it is plus that is in between them. So minus 4y plus 3y equals minus y. 4 is the highest value and it takes the sign, which is what? Minus y, right? Which is minus 1y anyway. Equals 6 minus 7 is also minus 1. Now minus here, remember that idea that if minus a equals minus b, then a minus cancels minus, then a equals b. So we can apply the same thing here by saying this minus cancels this minus, then y equals 1. That's how we arrive at 1. Now let's look at the last rule, which is rule 4. Now rule 4 says replace the real value of the variable gotten from rule 3, which is this, or equation 2, which is still the same thing as this. The real value we got from our equation 2 is y equals 1, right? In equation 3 to get the other variable. So we are going to replace y now in equation 3. Where's our equation 3? Here. To get the other variable, which is the value of x. Remember, this is not the actual value of x. So once we do this, we are done with substitution method. Now replace y equals 1 in equation 3. Now what is our equation 3? This is it. Our equation 3 says x equals 7 minus 4y all divided by 3. Now replace this y as 1. X equals 7 minus 4 into brackets 1 all divided by 3. X equals 7 minus 4 times 1 is still 4, right? All divided by 3. 7 minus 4 is what? 3 all divided by 3. 3 divided by 3 is what? 1. So our x is also equal to 1. Y is equals to 1. X is equals to 1. For you to confirm your answer, replace those values here. 3 times 1 is still what? 3. 4 times 1 is still what? 4. So by the time you say 3 plus 4 gives you 7, which means your answer is correct. Just follow the 4 rules and you are good to go.